Your father never told you what he did, not directly, but you grew up in a house that had no business existing on what a mechanic earns. New cars in the driveway every few months, holidays that cost real money, a private school with a 2-year waiting list. You stopped asking questions early, because by the time you were 12, you had already worked out that the truth would change something in you that could not be changed back. He dies when you were 23. A heart attack, in a car, in an empty multi-story parking lot. At the funeral, a man in a gray suit you've never seen before shakes your hand and holds it a second longer than he tells you your father was a good man who understood how things work. A month later, you find a second set of books hidden behind the drywall in his office. 30 years of entries, clean on one side, real on the other. You sit on the floor for 4 hours and read every page, and by the end of it, you understand exactly what your father was and exactly why the house never made sense on a mechanic's salary.
He was laundering money.
He kept money clean for people whose names you recognize from news reports. So good that when you trace the structure backward through 30 years of entries, you cannot find a single thread that leads anywhere dangerous. Every transaction dissolves into something legitimate before it can be followed. 3 weeks after you find the books, a woman named Rebecca sits across from you at a coffee shop and orders nothing. She tells you your father's absence has created a problem, and you are the most logical solution. She tells you he said you were better than him. That finance degree, the obsessive tidiness with numbers, he had been preparing you without you even realizing it. You thought he was teaching you accounting. He was teaching you everything else. You say yes before she finishes the sentence. Your first job is a restaurant group. 4 cities, real tables, real kitchens, real staff. But the money flowing through the books is nearly triple what those restaurants could produce on a good year. You restructure the revenue, introduce a catering division that has never cooked a single meal, populate it with corporate clients that do not exist outside a spreadsheet, and work the margins until the whole thing reads as a quietly successful small business. 2 weeks, done. Rebecca says nothing and tells you to be ready Monday. 2 months in, something happens that changes the way you think about the work. A restaurant manager named Aldridge has been quietly skimming, small amounts redistributed across supplier invoices for the better part of a year. You catch it. You tell Rebecca on a Thursday afternoon. By Monday morning, Aldridge's access is gone, his email is dead, and his name has been scrubbed from every system. Nobody mentions him again. That evening, you sit in your flat and you think about how someone can vanish so fast from just one phone call. You keep moving. 6 months in, and you are running 22 entities across 4 countries. The volume moving through the system every week is more than your father managed in an entire year. In the second year, a government task force investigates the restaurant group, a routine audit triggered by a competitor's tip. You spend 72 hours reconstructing 3 years of records. By the time the auditor arrives, the books are immaculate. He finds nothing. 2 weeks later, the competitor who filed the tip loses his operating licenses within the year. You do not ask about either. You are learning that the family does not solve problems loudly. It applies pressure and waits. You find this more unsettling than anything loud ever could be. In the 3rd year, a man named Whitmore enters the picture, the family's logistics director. You meet once in a private room above a restaurant in a city neither of you lives in. He speaks about cash volumes the way other men speak about weather. A new corridor is opening through a port facility where 3 officials have been brought into the cooperative structure. He needs the infrastructure expanded in 90 days. You build it in 81. 6 months later, Whitmore is arrested at his home by a joint task force operating across 2 countries. International news, the family's name mentioned. You watch the coverage and feel the specific, cold clarity of someone who has just realized the building they are inside is on fire somewhere below them. You call Rebecca. Her voice is completely level. 2 words. Contingency protocol. You work 31 hours straight. You close 3 entities, transfer their assets through transactions that each look like routine business activity, open 2 replacements in a jurisdiction with no information sharing agreement with either country running the investigation, and reconstruct 6 months of documentation presenting the corridor revenue as legitimate contracts between companies since dissolved. When investigators reach your lair, they find clean, dormant companies with nothing that leads anywhere. Whitmore is convicted on operational charges. The financial case produces nothing usable. What you feel is not relief. It is the exhaustion of someone who knows the pressure will return. It always does. In the 4th year, Rebecca disappears. Not arrested, not resigned. She misses a contact, then another. Then her apartment is empty and her phone disconnected and her name never mentioned again. Her replacement is a man named Clifton, who communicates through a messaging system that deletes itself every 48 hours. Within 3 weeks, 2 of your intermediaries are replaced without explanation. The new ones know you only by a 2-letter designation. You are not a person to the new structure. You are a function. This is when you understand what your father probably understood long before you. The family does not have loyalty. It has utility. You are 28 years old, running 41 entities across 9 countries, and every bit of protection you have ever been given exists only because you are useful. The moment you are not, you become a liability. And liabilities in this organization do not get exit packages. Then, on a Thursday morning, every login credential you have is revoked simultaneously. Not expired. Revoked. You try the backup. Dead. You try the emergency channel. Nothing. You know too much. Not because you did anything wrong, because you did everything right. And that made you dangerous. You have 4 hours, 1 bag, 3 passports, cash from a safety deposit box the family has never heard of. But that is not all. 3 years ago, you opened a private account in the Cayman Islands under a name that connects to nothing. The same methods you used to hide other people's money turned on yourself. You knew this day was coming. You go to the airport, cash ticket, Panama City. You think about your father on the flight, the car park, the coroner, the man in the gray suit at the funeral. Your father did not die of a heart attack. He knew too much, and the family made a decision. The same decision they just made about you. The difference is, you saw it coming. You land in Panama and spend 3 days organizing the drive. Billions in hidden money. Every transaction the world's richest family thought they'd buried forever. Into packages. One for the National Crime Agency, one for Interpol, one for a financial journalist who follows money the way you follow money. You send everything from a public Wi-Fi cafe on a Sunday evening and walk back to your hotel and wait. Then, the world goes crazy. The first arrest happens 8 days later. By the end of the week, there are 4 more. Parliamentary questions in 3 countries. Clifton is taken at his home on a Tuesday morning. 2 members of the inner circle are pulled off a plane before it leaves the gate. The Edinburgh law firm is raided. The family's entire operation collapses in real time. Nobody knows where the documentation came from. Nobody knows your name. You are just a person on Panama's beach, watching the thing you built burn down from a safe distance. Somewhere in the city you just left, a young accountant is staring at a set of numbers that do not add up. He is sharp enough to notice. He is not yet sharp enough to know what noticing is going to cost him. A woman is about to sit down across from him at a coffee shop. She will order nothing. He has no idea what he is about to say yes to. But he will say yes. They always do.